This is Success Beyond the Score, giving insights and tips to help you learn how to build your music career from the best in the field by Millicent Stephenson. Millicent is a multi-award winning saxophonist and endorser of Harry Hartman's Fiber Reeds. She is currently serving on the Executive Committee of the Musicians Union. With over 40 years' experience in the creative industry, Millicent has honed her performance and business skills. She provides personal development training and coaching via her online platform, successbeyondthescore.com.
Hello, I'm Millicent Stephenson, and I'm very glad to talk to you again after the little break that we had here in my podcast, Success Beyond the Score. So far, I've had the opportunity to talk with brilliant people in the music industry about a variety of relevant and interesting themes. Now, I want to build a dialogue among them through a new format in which you'll be able to hear their opinions on selected topics. To start today, you'll hear them talk about family, how they balance work and home life, what their families have meant for their careers, how they've supported their journey, among other things. Without further ado, let's listen to Tony Bean, Louise Dengate, Anna Brooks, and Ruby Turner MBE. So you got this advance, and the other point was it was good to hear that your wife said, "I believe in you." But how did she? Did she? I mean, I know your wife. I'm not going to mention her name because she'll probably kill me. But how did that really go? I mean, did she say, "It's okay, honey, you go do that"?
Yeah, it wasn't as smooth as that. It wasn't as smooth as that. You imagine you. I was 2 years into my marriage. We bought a house.
Yeah.
There was practically no kitchen.
Now as a woman, I go,
Yeah, exactly. So the house needed gutting practically. And there's me, get a healthy sum of money, and I'm going,
Are you going to say how much a healthy sum was? Come on. You're going to dig that bit a bit deeper. Well, it could have done the house. It could have remodeled the house, right? She'd have that walk-in closet she wanted. That kitchen that's just with a middle counter in there, you know. Oh my gosh.
I tell you, it's it didn't exactly go like, oh yes, love, it's all right.
Yeah.
Spend all the money. It was really a case of, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, trust me, I think it's gonna work. We will be able to get the house done, but not right now.
Yeah.
Can we defer the house and let me do this? Because I think as a business, it will work. Mm-hmm. And for a precarious minute, it looked like, is it going to?
Yeah.
And with the sort of stuff happening with the group on the label as well, there was a precarious minute or two. But thank God, it eventually worked its way through, and I started to be able to earn off the production side of things, and the publishing side of things as well. So it worked out, thank God.
Excellent, or else you'd be in a divorce court.
I know.
Like,
you imagine walking into I mean, at the end of the day, I think my wife said initially, look, we can't live in a studio, can we?
Yeah.
I'm like, you've got a granted valid point. We can't. We've got to live in a house, but I believe that it will pay for what we want. And that was deferring the satisfaction of deferred satisfaction.
Yes. Do you have a tip about balancing family with work? Because obviously if you're working for yourself, if you're DIY or if you're signed with a label, maybe just one tip about balancing before we wrap up?
Yeah, I think it is more I think it's easier now to balance that because you can work from home. I mean, in the days where I had to go to a studio to work, now you can work from home. You've got a laptop, you've got software on your laptop you can do stuff with, you can email at home, you can do you can Zoom meet at home. But it's a lot easier to do that and find times in between stuff, in between family times. And I think it's also important to set aside designated family times. I've always tried to keep my weekends free, and I know that sounds stupid as a producer, but I do work weekends, and I have worked weekends, and a lot of weekends I have worked, but I try to keep certain weekends free. I was always able to take my kids to their sports lessons. I was able to, I always tried to fit in school runs, and people think, school runs? You do a school run? And I'd leave the studio and do a school run. I honestly would, because I found that that was important for me to pick my child up and say, how was your day at school? How did you get on? Did your teacher do this? Are you okay? Are you happy? There was sometimes I had to go into school and see their teachers because they'd come out unhappy and incidents had happened. So I think it's really important that you fit your career around your family time. Make designated family time, make designated times when you can spend quality time with your family. And whether that is to say, I'm going to make sure that Saturdays I try to keep free, or Sundays I try to keep free a Sunday afternoon so I can do something, then do that. But always remember that this is a career. It's not the most important thing. Your family are.
Yes.
They are the most important thing. That's why you're doing what you do.
Yeah, because they're the ones there when you're ill. They're the ones you come home to,
Yeah.
you know, and they're the ones that are going to keep you grounded. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Not the job. The job's just going to take.
They're the ones that put you on stage, really,
Yes.
because if for all your fans that see you up there and say, "Oh, I love what you do," if your family didn't support you and if you didn't have them around you, you wouldn't be on stage for people to see.
Exactly.
They're the ones that are supporting you. When you have a bad day, they're the ones that talk to you. They're the ones that encourage you. They're the ones that, because we all have our ups and downs in this game. It's not always on the mountaintop. And you're going to need people that are around you to say, you know what, you're there, man. You can do it. You can do it. You can push through this incident. You can push through this season. You can get through. So I think it's important to invest in those people as well. Invest in the people that have got your back, which is your family.
Yeah.
Designate time. I'd say strictly designate time for them.
So you're a husband and wife team. So what I really want to know is, how do two creatives get on in the house with their music? I mean, is there competition, mutual support? I mean, who decides who's playing the piano when? Do you have to book it in?
When we were first together, it's because I auditioned to be in his jazz band. That's how we met. So that was funny, really. And then sometimes we'd be doing the whole band, but sometimes people would just want two people. So then we kept being at these really romantic places, him on the piano and me singing. And you know, it was like inevitable, really. But I remember him saying, "Oh, I'd never marry a musician." I was like,
All right, so you already had scopes,
I knew really early on. And anyway, he was playing. I knew it. So
funny.
We did have a good time.
It's a bit like the lady loves milk tray, but the man loves milk tray in this one. You give him the chocolates and say, "Right, you're mine, mate." That's it.
Yeah. Well, I remember us having this phone call, and we'd both recently broken up with our partners, and I was like, you know, the next person I want to be with is somebody a bit like you. I mean, not you, but someone just like you. Totally dropped myself in it. It was so hilarious. And he was like, "Oh, I'm the same. The next person I want to be with is someone like you. I mean, not you, but someone like you." I'm like, what are we doing here? What are we doing? So then we started dating and all that. So
So do you fight over the piano though? I can see the piano behind. Do you have a scrap as to who's playing the piano now and who's practicing?
Not really, because we got the kids here. So actually, it's we do. This is a little chalet here. So this is at the bottom of the garden. The house is up there. So this is a nice little hideaway, really. So sometimes we do come down here and jam together. But I mean, I play piano. I did like grade 8 piano, but he's definitely better on piano than I am. So I much prefer to let him jam on piano and then I'll sing. That works better for us. You know, if I have to play the piano, I'll do it. But I much prefer the freedom of singing. It feels much more open and free to me. Whereas he's the other way around. He feels more free on the piano. But we used to have this thing when we were younger. I say younger, when we first married, that he was bossy. No, which way around was it? I was bossy, but he was the boss, or something like that. So we'd have Who wears the trousers? We've ripped the trousers in half. We've got one leg each. So we're both, because we're both quite leader types. We can both be quite strong. So we had, in the end, we just had an agreement, like, okay, this project, Louise, you're leading it, and I'll do whatever you say. And then this project, Alex, you're leading it, and I'll do whatever you say. So we have often gone into each other's projects. So as long as we know who's the lead, it's all right. If we try and do something equal footing, that's not so good. It has to be that one of us is ultimately in charge.
So I suppose one's a body type, one's a mind type, one's a heart type or something. I don't know which one camp you fit into. But I think that's quite good though, for in terms of a relationship, you know, figuring out what works. I know certainly when I got married, my husband isn't a musician, but when we were decorating our house, I liked doing the skirting boards, whereas he just wouldn't do it. He'd hang the wallpaper. So he does like the sort of bigger picture things, and I'll do the small detail. And that works really, really well in most cases. Only when sometimes there's a clash and I'm doing the small detail with the situation that he's involved in, and he's like, I don't want the detail. He's like, I just want the big picture. And we have a scrap about that. But it's kind of good that you've worked out your boundaries.
You got a good balance there though, if he's big picture and your detail.
There's a person behind all of that who is a mother of 2 adult boys.
Yes.
I think they're adults now, aren't they?
They're 20. I have 2 20-year-olds. I know, it's crazy. But it's still very much hands-on. I still give them a lot of help. They're both at uni, and they both have ADHD. So I'm basically their PA. From organising things and diary, and I sometimes feel like I have 2 jobs. One is my job as a musician, and the other one is as a personal assistant to 2 20-year-olds. But I love every moment of it, and I wouldn't change them for the world. It makes them who they are, and they're fantastic. They're so funny, they're so clever, but they need a bit of extra help, you know.
I mean, that might be an interesting direction to go into before we even get into all this music, because you're still that female musician who is a mother of 2 20-year-olds, and you've still got to do your touring and your arranging, recording, and your directing. So how do you kind of balance that?
Well, it's interesting because this year has, although it's been, terrible from a work point of view, it's been great for me because I've had more time and headspace to be able to help the boys with everything, because I've been around so much more. And one of my sons is in his final year at Leeds Conservatoire, as it's now called. So it's a really crucial year for him, and as he's studying music, I'm able to sort of give him some guidance and some help. And normally when things are very busy and I'm touring and recording, it's really a case of, if I'm on the road, I will get up and I will call the boys, check in with them, check in with the family, see how everyone is, and you just have to do it on the road, right? You just have to grab those moments, lots of FaceTime, and grab those moments when you can. I got a bit of a sort of a reputation, or rather the boys got a bit of a reputation recently. The last bit of touring that I was able to do was with Jules Holland and his small band rather than the big orchestra, and so it was just Jules and Ruby Turner, and we were touring with Katie Tunstall and Louise Marshall and myself and the drummer. And every night before we went on stage, we'd be backstage, just a small group of us, and I would get a call from one of the boys saying, "Oh, Mum, can you send me some money?" And literally, and the band would start saying, "Oh, finances." You get a call and someone would go, "Finances?" Right, that's right. Because I help them manage their money. So it's not my money, it's their money, but I help them manage it so that it doesn't all disappear.
Yes, I know.
And actually, and that's at their request. They at some point they said, "Look, can you help us with this? Because it is difficult budgeting." And when young people go to university and they're not grown-ups yet, they need help, right? It can be all time. I can be in the wings and between songs sending money to literally, that's no exaggeration, but that's fine by me because it's what we do as mothers, isn't it?
That's
you do whatever your children need, to help them get, that's what you do. And it's very difficult, I think, to be, or maybe it's more difficult for women to be on the road if you have a family.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't really start touring for any length of time until my boys were, I think they were 11.
Okay.
And until up to that point, you know, maybe I would be away for 1 or 2 days, and that was it was partly by choice. It was also partly because of where my career was at the time. So it is difficult to leave young children behind. It is harder for us, I think, and of course, you know, men have the same thing. They're away from their families, and that is difficult. But it's perhaps a little bit harder for mummy to be away for large periods of time.
Catching up on my family and friends and stuff like that, and then, you know, time in the house. I mean, I've been here 15 years. I'm seeing it. This is the first time I'm actually seeing it. Really, it's an entire telling. Oh, what's this? Oh, what's that? You know, oh, I could change that. Never thought about that before.
No.
Never been here.
You're constantly on the road.
Yeah, I was on the road. So it's been good to have thank God I have a base. I have a home.
Yeah.
So all those things I'm so grateful for. I have a home, lock that door, and a nice little garden. And that's me. Yeah. So I've managed it that way. And you know, the pandemic did rock my world badly because my brother got hit with it in New York. He lives in New York, and it got very close indeed. I was fortunate that I had a cousin that was a nurse in that very same hospital, and God bless George. He would go into my brother's room, and he'd surreptitiously switch his phone on so I could see what was going on in that ward, on that ward. And I saw Robert, and I saw him on the machine, not the machine, on the breathing things. Yeah. And I saw the struggle for breath. And I went through this last year, April, May, June was the hardest of my life because I'm here in this country and I'm on the line and I can't get to them. At the same time, my dad was not good, and he was Robert's main carer. Oh. And I say main carer, I'll leave it at that. In terms of between my brother, the connection. Yeah. My dad and my brother, that was a circle. That's what I had. Robert was filling me in with it. When Robert went down, my dad, as poorly as he was aware of what was happening. And then I tell you, I don't even want to go back there. And that's when I was writing ferociously because I was documenting stuff that was going on. Yeah. And Robert came out, he's got long COVID to a point where he had diabetes, but not as bad. And it sent it right into full-blown needle time. You know, one of his legs was badly affected. He thought he might have lost that foot. Thank God they worked on it and they managed to, so a lot of stuff happened, and Robert came out and my dad, and then got to see my dad, and my dad changed over that time. And he came out, Robert came in June, and July, my dad died. Oh. And so, a lot of stuff's gone on. A lot, time spent here wasn't just spent. A lot of, I'm so glad I had a home and I wasn't touring and running around. Yes, because you have to be thinking about cancelling engagements and flying across. I was here. And then, of course, all this lockdown business was going on. And then I was fortunate enough, do I go? Father died. They shipped his body home to Jamaica. And I went, I've got to go. I've always been with my father. My dad's always, my trips to Jamaica, like, endless. My times, I documented everything every time to Jamaica. I got him here on phone calls, on my phone, in the kitchen, cooking, me taunting him, where you cook. Why don't you leave me alone? Conversations we've had, I recorded with my father. Wow. And so I have those memories, I have those things. Mm-hmm. And I managed to get out to Jamaica for the August, and I went into lockdown in Jamaica for 2 weeks. I took my sister with me. Yeah. And girl, I had the we've had holidays in our lifetime. If you can call it, I went to bury my dad. What a holiday. Oh my God. I went there and all of a sudden it was so strange.
Yeah.
It was so strange. Yeah, we went to this little hotel and all the COVID, everything, the rules were great, everything sorted out, small little thing, back down to the beach. So there was on the beach and it was wonderful. And I had time to think about my father, because what was important was I was on the island where my father was now.
Yeah.
And I was on the island, and that was what was important to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like I was with him, and I laid in that sea, girl. I was lying on the sand for hours. I never come out till me and my sister. We were so dark and gorgeous. And the beach, and then they come around with a jelly coconut, and we buy it, and then we got the white rum, and we chuck it. It was all going on. At one point, I thought, am I here to mourn my dad or what? What's going on? I said, no. I said, no. This is what my father would have wanted.
Yeah.
This is a holiday. Come, girl, come.
Yeah.
This is what I want. And it was sad, but also beautiful, because I was able to go and say goodbye.
Yeah, yeah.
And the day before lockdown, I broke the rules because we had 2 weeks quarantine.
We'll take that bit out of the recording.
Yeah. Well, I said, but without leave the rule, left it, I don't care. Leave it in, because it was only a day.
Okay.
It was only a day. It was very important. I wanted to go and see him in the funeral home.
Oh, okay.
And he was going to be buried the next day, and I wanted to see him without the crowds. Yeah. And I went in my girl and I sang Peace in the Valley to my dad. Just me and him. And they let me in. And I just stood there, and I it didn't look like my dad, but it was my dad. Yeah. And and you know what? I've never lost a family member. And here I am at my great age, being learned this lesson. And I held my ground. I held it because I'm my father's daughter, and he knew how to hold him ground, and he did. And and I that's me and G. That's the father I had, and I love that man daily. And I love that man daily. And I had to get there. And I quarantined for the 2 weeks, and I came out, and then the Monday, buried him on the Saturday, flew home on the Monday, came back here, locked down again. So locked me down. I locked down in the beach, but that wasn't so bad, because I locked down on the beach, in the hotel room, and it was all very nice. And then come back and locked down in England. But it was September, came back here on the 1st of September. And it's been what it's been ever since, It's been what it's been ever since. I'm telling you, careers and life and what have you, when stuff like that happens, you really get a real sense of what it's all about. Yes. You really do.
That were the opinions of Tony Bean, Louise Dengate, Anna Brooks and Ruby Turner MBE about family and what it means for them as professionals in the music industry. I love revisiting these interviews and finding new connections when listening to them together. What about you? Let me know what you think of this new format. I look forward to your comments. Also, don't forget to visit my website www.successbeyondthescore.com and see the courses of my e-learning program. You'll also find there a free booklet with 25 secrets of the successful gigging musician, singer, rapper and spoken word artist to get you started. Until the next one. Thank you for listening.